Composers, creators, musicians, pianists. Not that you're not musicians. It's Zach, Heyde, and today I'm really excited to be doing a VST review. More specifically, a VST comparison. For those of you in the know, you may have seen that Skybox Audio recently released a new VST collection called Hammers and Waves. Initially, they reached out to me to do a standard VST review, but a lot of potential buyers of theirs have been asking about the difference between Hammers and Waves and Native Instruments piano colors. They're somewhat similar libraries, but also have quite a few differences. So for full disclosure, Skybox Audio actually sent me both of these VSTs, which I'm very grateful for, but they ask specifically that I keep an unbiased viewpoint when giving my review. Now these libraries are massive and there's no way I can get through everything inside them, so I recommend you also check out some of the overview videos that I'll link in the description. And if you find this review helpful, I'd appreciate if you leave a like at the end of the video and subscribe for more. I do VST walkthroughs, composition demos, and lots of other musical things. So first things first, let's just compare the user interfaces between these two libraries. So this is Hammers and Waves. This is specifically part of their prepared collection. Hammers and Waves actually has 4, if you look here. We've got our prepared, electric, acoustic, and chime, which is already a difference from Native Instruments piano colors. Piano colors is just 1 VST. This one's actually split out into 4. So here's the interface. You'll see it's pretty minimal looking. We've got modulation, swarm, the source, fractals, and then space. So pretty minimal layout. Now, if we contrast that over with piano colors, you'll see it's not too different, but we've got an arpeggiator, noises, layer 1 and 2, which is a difference I'll talk about in a second, particles, which is very similar, and then global settings. And again, piano colors is actually just 1 instrument. If I open this up, you'll see we just have the one called piano colors. There's also kind of a cool thing that they have here. Doesn't really do anything functionally, but it's just cool to look at. When you turn on the layers, you actually get different colors. And as you adjust these things, it changes the size in the background. Pretty cool GUI thing. So first, let's just have a listen to the default sound. Now, I tried to find a sound that was similar between the two, and I wound up going for like a soft piano. So this is piano colors, specifically their mallet felt, which is, again, kind of like a muted sound. Sounds like this. And then over on Hammers and Waves, I'm using their Obscura Grand Default, which again is from their prepared piano. And it again has that kind of like soft muted sound. So I'm just gonna play through them a little bit, starting off with piano colors. Okay, here's Hammers and Waves. So personally, I'm leaning towards the Hammers and Waves for the piano. I think it has a roomier tone to it. It feels a little bit less subdued. And I noticed that on the lower end, actually, there's some nice sub-frequencies that you get just naturally. Headphones are recommended if you really want to hear that. Sort of reminds me of some of the things I like about the Noir piano when you turn on the sub button. With the piano colors, naturally, the piano is a bit more muted sounding, and I think would need a little bit of enhancement or adjustments to make it kind of pop the same way. A bit boxier sounding. But of course, all these settings are totally adjustable inside of both of these libraries. So now that we talked about the basic piano sound, let's dig in a little deeper with both of these libraries and kind of explore all of the sounds. So in the piano colors, if we go inside layer 1 and we click in here, we can actually find a bunch of sounds. Now these are all specifically piano sounds because it's piano colors. So that's what we're dealing with here. So they're divided really nicely: beaten, bowed, noises, plucked, prepared, and special. And then in the main groups, we actually have long, short, pads, and reverses. So I'll just go through a couple, just play them for fun. That's a great sound. I love that. Nice and crisp sounding. Also really like that. I noticed that's actually sustains without the pedal. Let's go through a couple more. It's interesting. I don't love that sound, actually. The pumped ones I'm not really a big fan of. More ambient. Pretty cool. That's cool. I like that. Cool. Okay. Let's hop over to the pads a little bit. So here's EBOs. Very cool. I like it. And then the reverses. Let's see. Okay, so they're literally the reverses of the sounds that we were exploring before. Okay, so you'll see lots of variants in the piano colors. I really especially like the plucked ones, kind of the bright shimmery ones. Those are really cool. I don't have anything in my library like that. Now, Hammers and Waves is different in a lot of ways because where piano colors has lots of affected piano sounds, Hammers and Waves is divided up in the beginning with those sounds. So you'll see we have a muted piano, the obscure grand, which I was playing before. We have an electric piano, a suitcase, modern grand, an upright piano, another upright piano, and then a dulcitone, which I love, a celeste, and a toy piano. So to find these sounds primarily, you're gonna actually click on those individual libraries. So let's load up one of those. Let's start off with the dulcitone because I just love it so much. So this is their dulcitone piano. Similar to a celeste, but it has more of a plucky sound. Okay, now all this stuff is modifiable, of course, like they all are. But let's load in like a celeste now. Very upfront sound, different than a lot of celestes I have. One thing I really like about Hammers and Waves, you can change the mic positioning. So that's a farther mic position. And then here's really close. Okay, let's go through a couple more. Let's try the, let's do the modern grand. As far as pianos go, it's actually a pretty good sound. Maybe not as full as something like Noir, but it does sound very realistic. What I found is I actually liked it better when I was tweaking like the colors. So going for a more kind of contemporary, quieter sound. That brings in more of the harmonics, which I kind of like. Okay, let's pull in a couple more. Let's try their upright. Nice. Has that old school sound to it. Again, those subs, they really come through. Okay, and etc. You can find full demos of all the sounds, but you'll see, again, the basic difference here is layout and the choice of instrumentation. So whereas Piano Colors likes to focus on one piano with lots of effects, Hammers and Waves actually likes to have lots of different pianos or keyboard instruments. Okay, so now let's talk about what these different dials actually do. So let's start off with Hammers and Waves. The modulation is going to add some kind of warble essentially to our sound. So here's our upright piano. Kind of gives us that old school tape effect. And if we click on any of these names, we actually get inside and we can tweak it even more. So the rate, the pan, and the pitch. Kind of cool. Pitch. That's a little much. So most of these effects, for me personally, are best when they're used subtly. So I like this sort of thing. Okay, so that's modulation, pretty straightforward. Swarm is a pretty cool effect. I'll just demonstrate it and then talk about what it does. It's sort of like a feedback loop, essentially. So if I click on it, you can see the design. It's basically kind of just like enhancing, warbling. It's similar to Valhalla's shimmer reverb from my experience, where it's basically just kind of thickening the sound and adding a lot of extra tail to it. So again, all this can be modified. That's a brighter sound, and then darker. This is a much more lush sound version of that. Super cool. I love the swarm. Okay. Source is basically just us tweaking those parameters of the source sound, so we can change little subtle things here, add more subs if we wanted to. And all these have little menus in them as well that we can add. Which is pretty cool. I also do find that Hammers and Waves, I think, is a bit easier to navigate menu-wise than Piano Colors, personally. I kind of just like the way the menus are laid out, that there's forward and back buttons. I find it a lot easier, just on the onset. So, and then lastly, we have Fractals, which is a super cool one, and that's something that they both kind of share in common. The Fractals in Hammers and Waves is very similar to the particles in Piano Colors, and Noir as well. So here's Fractals. I'll reduce this swarm a little bit. So Fractals is basically like kind of an arpeggiator a little bit, but it's basically adding sounds and it's adjusting based on what we play. So if I play... I mean, you practically have a finished piece there, which is just so cool. You can tweak these. One difference I noticed between Piano Colors and Hammers and Waves is you can actually kind of control the arpeggiator with a bit more precision here. So I could do, for example, 7 steps instead of the 8. I could change the volume on that last one if I wanted to. So... a skip if I wanted, an octave. Kind of like that. And one thing that's really cool in here, you can also have animation, which is basically allowing you to have that particles engine, or the fractals in this case, kind of warble and move around different parameters. So as I turn on the animation, you'll notice that when I play, we got this little orbit that's changing based on these values. So you can hear it changing. Pan, pitch. Lots of features. Lastly, we also have space, which is just reverb. So space is controlled by the mod wheel, so... And again, if I click, I can control what I'm using. So let's go for, let's see. Let's go large plate and see what happens. It's super cool. I mean, I found myself getting immersed in hammers and waves at both of these libraries, really, just for the fact that they've got this, I don't know, it's like hypnotic, the way that you can work with the particles engine and the fractals. It's super cool. Okay, so let's do our due diligence and hop over to piano colors and compare those kinds of features. So one thing I noticed you can do in piano colors is you can actually add a second layer right from the main menu. So in layer 1, we were playing with Mallet Felt Soft. Great, okay. Now layer 2, let's actually add another one. Let's add brush percussion's pretty cool. Let's maybe add harmonics, maybe? Nah, let's add gaffer tape. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, so similar in the sense that we can add in that particles engine like I was talking about. The particles is gonna do a similar thing to the fractals in hammers and waves. So you'll notice the layout is a little bit different. So we have different presets here. We can choose the density. So that's more sparse. And that's more active. The decay, we could have a double. So. So pretty similar. I will say I don't notice as much ability to kind of tweak. You know, you can go in this gear icon and change some features in here. I think I would have really liked to see the ability to do the different steps. Again, if you look at the hammers and waves one, it just is a little bit more clear for me as to what you're actually doing. This is more like an effect, which is fine if that's what you're going for. Okay, now you also have the Arpeggiator. So Arpeggiator is exactly that. And that gives you a lot more ability to control different parameters too. So like there's a lot more, I think, in terms of parameter tweaking in piano colors. But sonically, I start to lean towards the hammers and waves personally. So let's play with, let's have it do layer 2 only, see what happens. Okay, now we can also add in noises. If we go to noises, we can add different things like mechanical sounds. We can add in like mechanical sounds. Or just regular noise. Which I don't like the regular noise, but you can add in different things. The mechanical sound is cool. I like that. You can have that turn on, so. And then you have different presets, of course, that you could change with the particles, again, divided up by different things. So you have like patterns, things that are free, you have pads, depending on the kind of effect you're going for. Also, design-wise, what's a little different in the piano colors is if you click on one of these layers, these sounds, you add your effects in for that specific layer. So you have modulation, space, motion, and channels. So you can turn these on for either layer, the left being for layer 1, the right being for layer 2. Let's turn on for layer 1. Let's turn off these things. And then you have a ton of different effects you can add in here. So I could go in and add something for like timbre, for example, 45 RPM. Let's try that. Okay, turn it on. And you see we get an adjustment of the sound. So if you really like customizing, there's lots you can do in here to add lots of effects. I mean, so many different effects. Piano effects, let's try crystal resonance. See what that does. It kind of has that like when you press the piano pedal down really hard and then just let it ring. Space, we'll go in space and play with that a little bit. Algorithmic reverb, okay. Let's just try that. It's a nice reverb, I like it. Feels very natural. And then the motion effects, let's try that. Motion, okay, so we have some different things in here like sine waves. Let's try pumping square. We're basically assigning a parameter. So in this case, I assigned volume and then pumping square. So that's gonna adjust the volume essentially. Probably similar to the modulation effect in Hammers and Waves, I'd say, but again, a lot more parameters you can tweak. Now for me, if there's a lot of features like this, sometimes I tend to get overwhelmed because I'm not personally a programmer. I like to find sounds that I like and run with them. So I think that the advantage in this case is gonna come with the presets. You'll probably get a lot more variance in the presets in piano colors maybe than you would in Hammers and Waves. But to counter that, Hammers and Waves also has a bunch of different sounds that you're working with to kind of offset the difference. So with that in mind, let's actually just listen to some of the presets because this is where I see myself using it, finding a preset I like and then tweaking from there. So out of fairness, let's start with piano colors and let's look at their presets. So obviously there is just a ton. There's so many. Pianos, patterns, pads combined. Let's start off with just piano and just kind of just play around a little bit. So here's Bright Harp. Very cool. Okay, let's go over floating mallets. That sounds interesting. Okay, let's try some of the patterns. Why don't we try drummer? See what that does. That's cool. I could see that being a really cool bed for some music. Okay, how about Hit the Grand? I like the names. Cool, so I like the way that the presets are divided. I kind of know what I'm getting. Let's go over to pad and try quarter pulse. Let's see what that does. Very cool. Okay, and then let's try combined. So we'll go rhythmized rattle. Interesting. I like the way that drops off. I like the decay. It's cool. Meteor showers. Oh, that's already a favorite of the preset so far. Okay, so those are a couple from piano colors. Let's hop over to Hammers and Waves and find their presets. Let's hop over back to the prepared piano so we have a similar comparison point of these presets. And let's just click on this to explore our different presets. So, Arpeggiator, let's try that. Cool. So I did notice there actually is an arpeggiator in here. So it's not as apparent from the main menu, but there is one in here that's obviously affecting the sound. How about backbeat found? This is literally just a backbeat. Cool. Okay, let's find some stuff that's a little bit more affected. Let's look at the way that's divided here. Let's explore this a little bit. Let's go stab. Intimate stab? I don't think there'll be anything. Let's just try stab. Spark it. What's that? That's pretty cool. What about neutral? What year is it? Oh, kill the stab. Neutral and bright. Swirling in paint. Cool. All right, let's hop over to some of the different ones. Let's go over, I haven't played any of the electric pianos yet. Bells and Brahms, let's try that. I love this electric piano. Wow, that's cool sounding. Very cool. How about something that's like wet and lo-fi? Gemini fan. There's a lot of variance here, as I think you can tell. Piano Colors has a lot of variance as it relates to piano, but Hammers and Waves just has a bit of a leg up because it's got so many different sounds in it. So you're going to get a lot more variety for what you're paying for. Pulse Runner, let's try that. Oh! That is super cool. Okay, let's try maybe like one or two more. I really find myself getting lost in these libraries for sure. Let's try the Dolce tone because, like I said, that's still one of my favorite sounds that they've got. The Pits, let's try that. Okay, so it's like a pizzicato sound with a little bit of papery stuff at the end. Look to the Past. I like the pulsing of the Fractals engine. It's really cool. Pitched Hats. I'm a big fan of sounds like that because that gives me like a layer that I can incorporate into my music directly. I love stuff like this. Okay, maybe not as much on the low end. Okay, maybe like one more. Wah bell. Oh, the pedal's affecting it. Another kind of like lo-fi. Very cool. So, as you can see, these libraries are both extremely vast, extremely dense, and very powerful. The differences, I would say, the biggest differences is that Piano Colors is just that. It's driven towards piano colors. Hammers and Waves is driven towards keyboard colors. And so there's a broader variety of sound. Piano Colors has more fine-tuning that you can do. So if you're into kind of the technical tweaking and you want really just endless parameters to play with, Piano Colors seems to be the way to go. Hammers and Waves seems to have more on the onset that you can tweak pretty darn quickly and be able to adjust as needed. But of course, both are great libraries, and I've enjoyed playing with them both. It's also important to mention that part of the reason why Hammers and Waves has more sounds in it is just because it's more expensive. Currently, they're running it at an intro price of $249, and after that, I believe it's going to be $389. That intro price is ending August 31st of this year, 2021. whereas Piano Colors at the time of recording this video is $199. So a little bit less expensive, but about a $50 price difference with that intro price going on right now with Hammers and Waves. As I said, both great libraries. There's a ton you can talk about, but hopefully you found this helpful as kind of an overview and my initial thoughts and kind of running through these libraries. Again, a huge thank you to Skybox Audio for sending me both of these VSTs. I really enjoyed playing with them both, and I can't wait to incorporate them into my music. You can find more overviews of both of these libraries in the description, as I've linked below. And if you found this video helpful, please do leave a like and subscribe for more content. That is all for now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week.